This video, we're going to be breaking down the trips tight end flex formation in the Eagles offensive playbook. If you guys want to get my entire ebook on this, you can get access to it by joining our school community. $10 gets you access to all of my offensive and defensive ebooks for both Madden and for college football 25. And going to be breaking this down. This is probably my favorite formation in the entire game. And it basically starts and ends with this play motion wide post. This is the most powerful play in Madden 25, and we're going to be deep diving kind of this offense and all of the cool things that you can do with it. Basically, the beauty of this play, and what makes this play so good, is every single route on this play is a power route. You can build around every single route on the play. So, for example, you have this tight end post here to the right side. If I was to put the tight end on a hot routed post, as you can see, he is going to be basically running this post a little bit deeper. Even if I stem this post down one, you're still going to see that tight end is going to kind of run into that inside quarter on the left side. Whereas if I have this post right here, you're going to see that this tight end is going to run a sharp cutting post or a flat cutting post. What this does is it gets across the field a lot better, and it really does a great job of spacing together with everything else on this play. Okay, it is going to space the field really well. It's hard for deep blue zones to be able to switch stick onto a deep blue and take this away. You kind of have to use your underneath coverage, or you have to do what I call cut, where you're going to basically cut this tight end post by using the safety on the right side. So some ways that we can take advantage of this, and I think really the most basic setup of this play is to just slant the inside trips receiver. This now creates a slant post concept. And what you're going to see here is you have a really good table route as well. If they are not playing hard flats, you can just get this ball out of your hands quickly by always just kind of peeking this table route. It also is going to pull any kind of curl flat or hard flat coverage to it. So for example, here, I'm going to go with some hard flats. What you're going to see is that hard flat is going to get pulled by this running back route. And then there's this little window that you can throw this in basically when the slant route gets to the number. So I'll try to show you this. So you see here, and kind of throw it like right in this little area, and you see that it's a shallow enough route. The slant is a shallow enough route that a deep zone is not going to play it. So what the best way for them to play this on this right side would be to have some type of cover two coverage. But what you're going to see here again is you can throw this running back quick against any kind of cover two. So what I like to do, and this is kind of something that I'm a big believer in this year, keep your offense on schedule. Like, offense in this game is really powerful, especially when the defense has to defend the entirety of the field every single time. And so this just is going to require, maybe a user, a lot of stuff like that. And then you have this post on the backside. Now, right there, if you guys didn't know, mid-reads can kind of match this tight end post route. But what you'll see a lot of times here is if the tight end post gets taken away, then this backside little check down return route is going to be wide open. So what typically happens, this is just generally kind of what I see when I run this offense, is they're going to use one of these two linebackers typically. And you could get this from a double mug look. You get this from almost any defensive look. And essentially they're going to make a choice. Are they going to sit over here in this right side seam and take away the slant, or are they going to take this post when he runs the post? So what you're going to see here is, in this example, if they take that post route, then we could throw this right in this little window right here. If they decide to sit and they take they leave this hook curl over here. Another thing that's really underrated is they might switch stick onto the safety and then actually cut the tight end. I was talking about that a little bit earlier. So you see here, they're going to cut that tight end. If we wait on this, you can still throw that slant across that field. It's a really, really high level read to be able to make. So if you see that they're switch sticking onto the safety, don't abandon your slant because oftentimes that could be open. Or what ultimately will happen is they will start to sit on this slant and return route, and then that route is going to be the route that you have access to. Okay? Now, there's a lot of other little things that I wanted to highlight about this play in this kind of primary simple setup, and then we'll talk about some additional plays in this offense as well. One of those is a lot of people in this game are going to be running with 5-yard, they're going to be running with these 5-yard hook curls. And typically what you'll actually see a lot is you'll get some pressure out of this. So for example, this would be like a legitimate blitz setup that we're seeing right now, would be something like this. And so as we just look at this, these hook curls typically are going to be at about a 5-yard zone depth. And so what this does is we have the ability to put a lot of stress on our opponent in a cover 2 type of coverage like this. If you're getting a lot of cover 2 here, what I like to do is we're going to go ahead and just streak this guy on the left side. And then you can kind of do a little bit of it's a little bit up to you what you want to do around that. You could put your running back, or I'm sorry, not your running back, but you could put this outside receiver on a drag and you could flat the slot receiver like this. Another thing that you could do a lot of different things. You could go with a double fades like this. You could leave the play, literally just streak this guy and call it good. You could put the running back on a streak. There's a lot of things you could do, okay? But what I want to show you is if they are running these cover 2 with these yellow zones at 5, this is a touchdown, and they're gonna have to either user the streak, which if they user the streak, then what's gonna happen here, we'll just show it. If they user this streak, this tight end is gonna get open in this little pocket, and then you also have the kind of that backside return route. Again, notice where these vert hooks are going to be sitting. This is like a super, super critical thing to learn, I think. So like if they're sitting 4 at you, which most people are going to be sitting 4 this year, and they have these two hook zones, typically what's going to happen is they're going to close center field. So it might look something like this. And I want you just to watch. Like, I just think it's very important to see this. But if we have this concept, take a look at this real quick. You're going to see here, you see how that hook zone is going to sit inside a lot, right? So one of my favorite things to do around this is to utilize kind of some backside digs and things like that. So what you can do if you have slot apprentice is you can put this little zig route right here to the left side. And then I like to have this backside flat, and then I'm going to use a 15-yard in route to this outside receiver. You could even go 20 if you wanted to, and then we're going to kind of start to attack these yellow zones. So basically what this does is this will really manipulate the yellow zones. And so what you'll see here is the zig is a really nice read to be able to hit. And if we go back to that kind of situation where, you know, you're getting a little bit more of what I would consider like a roll coverage, then what you're going to get here, and again, it just depends a little bit on who they're using. A lot of times they're going to user over here on the left side typically, because that's where the formation strength is. But anyway, what I want to show you is this flat zig combo. And I know you can do this out of other plays, but I just really, you don't have to. So anyway, what you'll see is this zig comes in and then he goes out, and it's just going to be in that soft spot, right? So now, what are they likely to do? How do you stop that zig route? Well, the way you stop the zig route is with a vertical hook, but you have to shade outside. So you see here, we're going to have a vertical hook. We're going to shade it outside. So we're getting a cover 2. And now we're just going to basically flip everything that I just said. So you're still going to get the pressure like this, but now the user is going to be over here in the right side area of the field. So let me actually get this like corrected for you. But anyway, basically this is the idea, right? You're going to get something like this. So the user is going to be on the right side. So what's the user able to defend? Well, the user is going to be able to defend that tight end route or that running back streak out of the backfield, right? So if we run this setup right here, you're going to see that this can do a decent job of bagging this, but you can throw the backside in route, which is super important to highlight. The other thing that you can throw on this, which this is why I think it's super important to kind of go through this, is so you kind of see like the adjustments they actually ultimately have to be in to stop even your most basic plays. So let's say they're in a defense like this. Where's the big opening in this defense, especially if I'm over here, right? Well, I know those yellows are going to have to be at 5 to stop my whip route. So what I like to do, and this is where we go back to that setup, is I really like just this basic streak right here. There's some other things that you can do with this. There's some other plays. You can go to halfback angle, and you see how we have a stock Texas route to the running back? So you're just going to streak, drag, and then flat right here like this. And what this setup is going to do is take advantage of that, because as you can see here, this is a wide open seam streak on this left side. Now, that was a little bit of a terrible example, and I think it's just because I had my guy on a weird hook curl. So he's going to be over here, because again, they have to stop. If you think about it, like they have to stop your tight end, right? So that's another like super underrated piece, is they have to kind of sit in that right side seam to stop your tight end seam streak. So what'll happen, especially if you go with like this halfback angle play, they have to use with the running back route. Otherwise, it's an easy read. So they have to use with the running back route. You see how open this area is of the field. And so now, again, we put them in a lot of stress, a lot of conflict, and they have to now basically change everything about what they want to do defensively. And so what you ultimately almost always get if you're playing a trips tight end type of look is you're going to get the user on the left side. Very, very common. So we're going to get a lot of times, and this is why I like to kind of prepare, if the user's over here, this kind of changes what they can do from a coverage, because typically what you're going to get here is they'll just user this trip side, and they're going to try to get away with playing cover 2 to the right? This is a very common shell. So what it then becomes about is how do we manipulate cover 2 to the right? Well, glad you asked, because motion Y post does a really good job of manipulating cover 2 to the right. Literally, all you're going to do is streak the running back. And then on this left side, you can kind of do whatever on this left side. What I like to do is just a seam streak and a drag like this. But basically what will happen is you run this motion, and I want you to take a look here, and you're going to see that this little motion fade is going to kill any kind of cover 2. Now you might say, well, what if they outside third the safety, right? This is a popular thing. A lot of people like to outside third their safeties and basically roll their coverage against a nice spread formation like what I'm showing you here. Well, this is where we're going to start to really attack these 5-yard yellow zones. And the way that I like to do that is we're just going to streak the tight end. And then what I like to do on this left side is we're going to drag CeeDee Lamb. And you have two choices. You can either use a 15-yard in route if you want to in route, or you can post route. I personally think the post is pretty good, but either way. So what you're going to see here is now I'm able to really thread the seams with my tight end, and this can be a big problem to deal with. And so again, what are you kind of forcing them to have to do defensively? Well, we're kind of forcing you to have 2 quarter zones. Right, if you're going to have those 5-yard hook curls, you kind of have to have 2 inside quarters. This severely limits what they can do defensively with these zones. Okay, so now what you basically walk them into is a defense that basically looks something like this right here. Okay, because you have to have these 2 quarters. You might get a cloud and a vert over here, but we just talked a little bit about how to manipulate that coverage. Which again, if we want to go back over it, is just this. Like literally, you could either do it this way. This will manipulate the cover too. And you'll see here the quarter will stay super far inside. It's even more free when they do the double quarter zones. Another thing that I forgot to mention that I did want to quickly point out is if they're in a cover 2 defense, and they have those hook curls on 5, or they're sending 4, then what if we go back to kind of that original play we were looking at with halfback angle, what'll happen here is this seam streak will just split a cover 2 this year really easily. And so again, you kind of see like the stress we're putting them in, right? Another great play to have, which I actually don't have in my audibles, which I should, is let me actually take motion post out and put it in here, is just the basic verticals. And the reason why I think this is like a really key play to have if you want to run this offense is because if they're running that cover 2, a lot of times what they'll basically do is they'll just user this inside player, right? So what I like to do is we could go into a setup where we just want to have kind of basically just a high-low read here to the right side. And what you're going to see is that this seam streak, if you pass this up into the inside, this is also going to take the top off of any kind of cover 2 coverage that they might want to run. So it's another kind of, I think, just key element of how you might want to play, because you still have a couple other really good routes. This crosser is actually a really good route. Again, we talked a little bit about it, but a lot of people ultimately, they run cover 2 to the right side. One of the other ways you can manipulate cover 2 is basically just this combination right here. I'd probably block my running back, but what you'll see here is this crosser will get over the top of the cloud once he crosses the field. So this is a play, cover 4 is going to defend this a lot better, but cover 2 is going to struggle against something like this. Okay. Another thing that you can do is this table route from motion Y post is really, really good. So what I will do from time to time is you have this little return route. You have you have some nice routes here. So what I would do from time to time here is just a basically like this. And the reason I like something like this, you could kind of get to this a little bit, a couple different ways we could get to it. One of the ways that I like would be something like this as well. But putting this tight end on a corner, and the reason why is because, again, you're going to get a lot of shaded down hard flats out of a cover 4 coverage. Well, the outside quarter is not going to do as good of a job of taking away this tight end corner route, which is why I think it's a nice route to have. You can stem it down one. The only thing with stemming it down one, and I'm gonna have a little bit of a difficult time here because we have the cheat motion too, but you'll kind of see how that curl flat can kind of play it a little bit better. Now, again, most people are going to be hard flatting on you, so it's not going to really matter. But when you let him run his default depth, now this curl flat really can't play that, which is why I like it personally. So again, we've done all of this from really just this one play, and kind of some variations of it. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is how you can attack the left side really quickly out of this motion Y post play. One of my favorite setups that nobody really runs. And what it'll take advantage of is it'll take advantage of cover 4 hard flat. So what I like to do is we're going to streak this slot receiver or this like middle trips receiver. We're still going to do the slant over the middle, but now we're going to put a 10-yard a speed out and stem it to 10. And what you'll see here is, number one, if they are playing hard flat coverage, you can kind of throw this. You can kind of throw this route. You could also do this out of verticals with the seam streak. This is a little bit better of a route if you wanted to have something like this. This is just a way that you can kind of get to the same idea, right? But what I want to show you here is the vertical streak can be used or caught in the seam. And then the other thing I wanted to show you is this is a little bit of a difficult throw. You're going to have to kind of test it. But that when you can make this throw, this speed out is a key route. Now, again, this is specific to a cover 4 hard flat. If they're not hard flatting, this can be a little risky. If they aren't, like you see right here, like it's okay. If they don't have their hook curls on 5, which let's go back over that real quick, and they're using different types of match coverage, different types of rerouting, which some people do play like that. One of the things that's really cool about this play or this setup that I'm showing you here is the curl flat will reroute this middle trips receiver. So you'll see he'll watch this left side. So he'll press him, and then while he's pressing him, this is wide open. So again, the best way to counter that is just a 10-yard curl flat. But then, and this is what I like to show here, this is where we get into what I think is kind of the bread and butter of this, where we can start to use things like a tight end drag with a slot post, right, for example, and then we can run something like this. And the reason I like this will be you could do this on a curl flat as well or anything like that. What's really nice about this setup is if they hard flat, let's say they shade down and hard flat, watch what happens here. You're going to see this tight end drag. It's really open, and we can just take advantage of that as well. If they have a 10 yards, let's say that they it's be more like a cloud flat type of situation. Well, the same basic thing is going to happen where we have all these routes running off here, and then this tight end drag is just going to get open right in this little window. It's a real simple play, and you could do this out of halfback angle pretty easily because halfback angle has the running back on a Texas route. So we would just literally, put a slot apprentice post, or I guess it's just a basic high route at this point, but having this post, I think, is helpful. What the post is going to do is it's just going to hold the user in the middle of the field and just kind of punish these yellow zones. So super, super, super simple play. I think one of the most slept on plays in the game, though, is actually a curl route here to this inside or this middle trips receiver. So again, cover 4 hard flat. So what we can do here is we can have a kind of a setup like this, if you will. And then with this, it doesn't really matter what this guy's on. I like just a basic streak, honestly. But what's really nice about this is you have the seam streak threat that they have to respect. But then look at this curl. It's really hard for them to play good defense on that curl. So that's another little element of things. One of the things that I did want to also kind of point out is if they're playing any kind of man coverage, This formation does a really good job against man coverage, primarily because you have a cheat motion and you have a sharp cutting post route. The sharp cutting post route, the cheat motion, one of those routes almost always is going to be able to attack any kind of man coverage that they're going to run. You also have a return route if you want to use a return route. See if we can actually get the separation here on the right side. I'm just going to throw this up. You'll see a lot of times you'll get a step on him just like that, and you get just one little step on him and it could be a touchdown. So I always look at that as just like a quick, do I got a step or not? Can I hit it against man or not? Another really underrated, I think, route combination is this running back streak with this cheat motion. And then on the back side of this, you could either leave this return route if you wanted that, or you could streak him and have this. And the reason I like this is, against zone, again, you just really spread the field. It's really hard for them to defend everything that you have going on here. So this formation is just really, really good. It's very difficult to play cover two on really either side of this. And I think cover two is ultimately the formation that most people want to be in, but you can't really run that against this trips. You have to kind of be in that cover four type stuff. And then that's where you're going to really start to get, I think, hit and taken advantage of a lot. One real simple alternative setup to this motion wide post, I think underrated, would be something like this. And the reason I like this is because, again, if it's like a cover four type of look, you know, you're going to have this little hitch if they're not putting their hooks on five. And then if they do shade down or put their hooks on five, then your corner route is going to get wide open here to the left side. So you see here, just passing down outside. These are harder to switch stick because you have, you know, really clean, clear out streaks. So I think trips is a very valuable formation. One of the other things that I forgot to mention about this formation is it's really good against cover three. There's a lot of cover three beaters. So this play PA crossers, you can just set it up like this. But this like deep crossing route from PA crossers is a cover three beater, as you see right here. It's a pretty free one too, and can potentially be a one-play score for you against that. Another thing is, I said, you know, a lot of people like to play cover four. PA crossers has kind of a unique post route. So if you were to do a combination like this, for example, this can potentially bomb cover four. You'll see here these kind of underneath routes that kind of looks like motion post, but then you have this deep post route that, as you see, I mean, it has potential. It's not always going to get over the top, but because it's such a deep post route and it runs at kind of a special little angle, it's really pretty decent. And you'll see here, see if we can get this time, but you just want to pass lead it up and kind of loft it. And you see, able to bomb that cover four coverage. So you can bomb. The other cool part about that, again, is I was talking a little bit about cover two and why, you know, cover two is just not a great look against trips tight end or trips tight end flex in this example. Well, because you'll see here against cover two, the soft spot's actually even matching him. Normally that wouldn't even happen because, and I'll show you a version of that without that happening. But you saw, I mean, he's wide open over the top. If we were a little bit more worried that there might be a soft squat, we could just flat this guy. And what you'll see is this is just the freest touchdown against cover two. So most people know that, and you're not going to see a ton of cover two. But what you will see is you'll see a ton of cover four and cover three. Cover four is probably the coverage that is the most popular coverage against trips, and there's a lot of ways to manipulate that cover four. One of the things we also forgot to mention was this setup right here. What I like about this here is we're just going to utilize a speed out on this outside. The whole purpose of this is to really attack that underneath area. And really, we're looking to throw this in this little window right here. And that's going to be a super nice read for cover four hard flat. I like how, I just really like how this formation does a really good job of just spacing the field vertically and spacing the field horizontally as well. So this is, you want to really maximize your spacing in this game, and I feel like this formation does a really good job of that. One of the other underrated route combos to me would be something like this, using a C route. The reason I like a C route is because it's a lot deeper than a speed out, and it's a little better against cover four, because you'll get a nice runoff, and then you can throw this kind of back shoulder. The challenge with the speed out in a trips formation is this guy is really far over here to the left sideline. One of the things you could also do to kind of, I guess, would be like one of the things you could also do to, I guess, kind of like prepare for that would be to go to, let's say, halfback angle, for example, and we would streak this inside guy, we drag the tight end, and then this motion, you could really do whatever you wanted with this motion. I don't really necessarily, you could block him even. Don't care at all what you do. But what you want to do is when you motion him, put this outside guy out on the speed out like this. Now there's a lot more room for this speed out, and it's a lot cleaner against that cover 4 type of coverage that you might want to be prepared for. So that's an example of different things you could do to kind of, I guess just open up your offense a little bit more. I think you could still, I think it's still a very justified, like you could even do something like this. This isn't a bad route combination. It's just, as you see, like if it's cover 4 hard flat, this can struggle a little bit. So what you have to do is motion this guy in a step or two and then snap off of a motion. This isn't terrible. It's just, as you see, like it kind of needs to be a stock corner route. If it's not a stock corner route, what'll happen is this zig can kind of do the corner route, hot route is kind of weird. So like if we put him on it'd probably be better to put him on a post, motion him in. Let's see if we can get him to run a corner here. Snap it. And he's not. He's just going to kind of do that stutter. That's kind of bad. Yeah, you kind of need him on a post, which I wonder if we have one in this formation. But the motion in corner route is still a really good idea, really good concept. It's just like I said, out and up would be the play that you would have to go to. And we'll show this real quick. So the cool part, 2 things about this corner. Number 1 is a stock corner. Number 2, it is a so what you could do here is you could have a really nice clear out on this left side, and then you have this kind of short corner, and basically you're just going to motion him in and snap him, and you see how he kind of gets in this little soft spot of the zone. Now again, is that much better than motion wide post? Because motion wide post is so good. I don't know that it necessarily is, but one of the things that's really cool is this is a short post. You can motion him across, and now we could run routes with this short post in mind. So, for example, one of the routes we might want to run would be something like this, for example, right? Really space horizontally, put a lot of stress on those yellows, and then you see how that short post is really effective. So, anyway, there's just a lot you can do with this formation. I just think this is just a really, 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 really good offense in this game. One of the other things I wanted to show you out of motion wide post that I think a lot of people are sleeping on in terms of how good this is, because again, a lot of people are going to be forced into 5-yard hook curls and probably some type of cover 4 to that trip side. So what we're able to get here is when we force this, that opens up this route combo right here. This is one of my favorites. If you watch this flat and in combo, a hard flat, this in route is really nice and it just gets open quick against the coverage. If they don't hard flat, then you're going to look out here and you're going to see it's still kind of open against cover 4. I'm not sure the way the patch that they did a patch on curl flats this year, and I think curl flats are basically hard flats. Like you'll see here, this used to be that curl flat would kind of follow him. It doesn't really do that anymore. So anyway, the reason I'm trying to show you that is this is a really free, like it's a really, really free read against cover 4. So, and I like having just easy openings against this. So what's the counter to this? Well, the counter is ultimately that they've got to get into this cover 2, right, to this left-hand side. And again, this is where I think just this formation shines is, okay, you're going to run cover 2. Either A, you're going to get killed with this tight end post, as you see right there, or B, we're going to guess right, and we're going to call something like, even just something like this. Like even this right here against a cover 2 shell, if they don't user this streak, this is a free touchdown, or at least a big hitter, as you see right there. So I love mixing in that setup. I think it's a really valuable one. And then if we want to make sure that their user has to use over there, that's one way. But let's say that their user is using over here on this left side a lot. One of the other things that you can do here is you can start to kind of, again, attack this right side. So one of the easiest ways to attack the right side would be to just run, even something like this right here, I think this is a really good setup for this right side, because what's going to happen is if it's a cloud flat, they're going to so they'll switch stick onto this cloud flat to take the bomb away, and then this is going to be wide open underneath, right? So that's another way that we can kind of put them in a lot of conflict. And then again, I just would prepare yourself for a lot of cover two on this tight end side. I think this is a very common thing that you will see. So one of my favorite things is, okay, let's just do this. And the reason I like this setup is because we attack the cover two on the left, and now we're just high-low in the flat defender, right? If he backs up, we throw the flat. If he doesn't back up, we throw the tight end corner, right? And so now, and I'm telling you, the second you get double flatted or they run cover four to the right side, it's really hard for them to get back to play defense anymore, because this is where we could get into this play, which we didn't even cover this a ton, but this is like my favorite play for that kind of coverage, because what you'll see here is this running back streak is just going to get into a really nice area of the field. So these are just some of my personal favorite plays out of Trips Tight End Flex. I thought I'd share them with you today. If you guys want to get access to my entire Eagles or any of my offensive or defensive ebooks, they're all available in our school community. You get everything for just $10 by being a member, and it'll get you access to all of my Madden and College Football 25 offensive and defensive ebooks.